Site 26 in Estes Park, North Colorado, way up in the mountains. Oh, I'm sorry, I just couldn't help it. This was base camp for AvatarMeet 2015. It was Wednesday evening and time for the meet and greet. All the usual faces, plus some new ones.
Oh, you're Susan. My God. Pictures are fine. Mark, hi. Oh, hello again. I've been an Avatar fan for 5 years. I've tried the 12-step program. It didn't work.
No. 5 years already?
Yes,
5.5 years. And you know what? We're still here.
Yeah.
Waiting for that sequel to come out so that we can all get excited again.
Yep, absolutely.
Although this year was going to be a bit more informal, Miko gave a rundown of what the planning team had lined up for the event.
But there's lots of cool stuff in the book, which Alan, you won't see on the video because he's behind the camera. Turn it around, turn the camera around.
Okay, I'm here. So we have Heather to thank for the artwork for the Meetup Survival Guide.
To kick things off, tomorrow morning at 10:30, the local cinema is going to run the collector's edition for us. So we have that.
Real thing.
It'll be just like going to a regular movie, except won't cost you $15.
Outstanding.
Yeah. And then tomorrow evening, we have the local observatory booked, and that's in the book on page 11. Pineapple 11, sorry, not page 11. Pineapple 11. Number 2 shows the location of the observatory, which is just across the lake. On Friday is the volunteering, and Matt is the expert on that, and he's not here yet. They're off chasing bugs somewhere. I think they're perfect. Yeah, I think they're filling
for reptiles and amphibians.
filling poor Akatuan's van with half of the nature in Colorado.
Yeah,
or at least one specimen of every species.
Not every day is not the day that we do the observatory. We could do crafts, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I have a suitcase full of like leftover crafts from all the years that I've been doing the costuming, and like every year I'll buy something and be like, oh yeah, I'll totally use this, and like, oh, never mind. So I have like 5 years worth of stuff, and so I think it'd be fun if you wanted to, we could like work on different little projects, you know.
And then on Saturday, our last full day here, it sounds like Akatuan has a couple of hikes lined up. I think he has one shorter one that actually I've been on, goes up to a place called Gem Lake, just up this way. It's a nice short one. We might actually have that one as an option tomorrow afternoon. And then Saturday evening, we're working on securing a restaurant for kind of get together, clan meal type thing. And then, and one more thing, the new iPod. No. The only 2 people we're expecting to walk in any minute right now, no, okay, that is Paul and John are joining us again this year, in case you haven't heard. And so somewhere in the mix, we will have some form of a continuation of the Navi education that Kari Paul is so graciously giving to us.
The rest of the evening was catch-up time, talking about the adventures they had had trying to get to Estes Park.
We get one hotel room like halfway up to Mark's place. The driver gonna pass out. You want to get there before he passes out. But then how fast? But how fast can you go along that road?
And then the next day we go back down there and these guys are like,
The following morning, the clan gathered in the hotel foyer before heading off to the Real Mountain Cinema to watch Avatar on the big screen. To begin with, the cinema had a few problems trying to get the film to play, as there was no sound coming through the speakers. Eventually, Miko managed to sort the problem for them, and we settled down to the Avatar experience. Having regained our composure, we headed out of the cinema and spent the afternoon enjoying the sights and sounds of Estes Park. The evening was spent at the local observatory, which had been organised by Miko. Fortunately, it was a clear night. Our welcoming host gave us a wonderful overview of the sky at night. The clan was split into 2 groups. whilst one received an excellent slideshow looking at the stars and planets. The other group got excited as they went up into the observatory. Our host takes up the story.
We built this ourselves. It's all aluminum. These walls are aluminum and they're pop riveted together. I'm going to open it. This is a motorcycle chain that's welded onto that center section and then roller bearings. It's really simple, but it works quite well. See, this is our another garage door opener, and it does this and this. And this, it's a 16-inch RC telescope, and it's kind of a really nice telescope, kind of the top of the line. The telescope are hooked via the computer over here. The star wall that we had downstairs, okay, very similar to this program. It's called Sky. This is called SkyX, and it's done by a company right here in Golden, and it's kind of like the standard for observatories that they use. And so all we have to do is find a button, or find a planet, a star or planet or whatever we want to look at, and then click on it, and then this guy goes, and this guy goes around, and it's right there in the eyepiece. And it's really cool. And then we need to hear the two beeps. Don't let this hit you. There's the other beep. All right. Okay. I see three of the moons, maybe four. I don't know. That might be a star. But Saturn's got some really neat moons. All right. Let's start with you, sir.
Oh.
Well, the big bright guy is Titan. Okay.
Okay.
And
Oh, wow.
she found it. She sees it. Saturn is, the ball of Saturn is 80,000 miles. And then if you include the rings, they're 140,000, okay? And Saturn is like a billion miles away, close to a billion miles from it. And even though it's huge, it only takes 10 hours for it to go around once. Whereas we take 24 hours, which means that it's really going fast. And those cloud bands, if you look closely, you can actually see some cloud bands. Those are storms, basically. Clouds moving at thousands of miles an hour.
I've seen pictures of the Ring Nebula before.
Yeah, this is the Ring
It's
Nebula.
actually one of my favorites.
And inside at the star, at the center, is now called a white dwarf. And it started out the size of the sun, but now it's compressed down to the size less than Earth, okay? So it's really, really dense. Yeah. And this is kind of what you're seeing in the telescope. This is the very first astrophotograph ever taken. And it was taken at the Leak Observatory.
Is that the resolution that was originally?
Yeah, the original resolution, and they did it with glass plates.
Oh.
And that's kind of how it looks in this telescope right here. Are you guys ready to go to the moon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is it 1969?
1969. Oh, I think we're getting some moonlight over there.
Something's shining in.
Something very bright shining over there. Just get out of here.
We're done. I guess we're gonna have to go some shit. I'm blind.
Yeah, that's why we saved the moon
Oh,
for last.
that's actually not. That's actually quite cool.
Holy no, it's cheese.
Awesome.
It's green
Well,
cheese.
cheese comes from the cow.
Yeah, that's true.
I was just a step ahead.
Yeah, just true.
Very awesome. Thank you so much.
You learn something new every day. Every night. Yeah.
Indeed you do, and your eye on it and to Estes Park Memorial Observatory. Friday, and AvatarMeet 2015 headed off to Bluff Lake Nature Centre, where Raiden had organised our volunteering day. This was our way of giving back to nature and following through on the themes of Avatar. Having filled in the obligatory "I will not sue you" forms, we headed off to the edge of the precipice, as you do. But we didn't jump off because there was a guy there who gave us a nice talk, an overview, and introduction to the nature reserve.
Hello, welcome to Bluff Lake, everybody. My name's Chris. This is Bernarda. Bluff Lake is basically everything we're looking at here. It's 120 acres. It's kind of relatively small for a nature preserve, but it's pretty good size to have an open space like this right in the middle of the city. We have woodland. We have a shortgrass prairie. So for how small this place is, it gets pretty much all the same wildlife that you're going to find up in the foothills here. What you're doing today is greatly appreciated. We planted a bunch of trees this spring and last fall, and we've had, been lucky enough so far that we've had enough rain that we haven't really had to water too much. So your timing here is perfect because we're just heading into this little dry spell here. Sort of wander down. There's stairs back here. We're going to wander down.
Off we headed into the nature reserve for a short walk to our first destination, where we were going to put compost around some trees and then water them.
So just water out of the creek to water the trees?
Yes.
Just carry it up and go.
Yes, with buckets. So if somebody doesn't mind getting wet.
Just a minute, did she say get wet? Mind you, it was that humid there, I think we all got wet from sweating.
Some of this on top of here like that.
After our host showed us what we needed to do, it was on with the work, trying not to fill up your shoe with compost. It wasn't long before Raiden had found a frog, and out came the cameras.
Because these don't have the same color as red spots.
Meanwhile, back at the creek, Marky was filling his buckets.
The water is going to go right down on the roof.
Grab some full ones from here and keep them moving.
How was that?
Excellent.
It was exhilarating. How was it?
Yeah.
Oh, is that a mass of bugs on your back?
Somebody threw a bucket of water on you.
Although it was a relatively simple task that we were doing, the humidity really made it tiring, and so we stopped for a short breather before heading back for a drink. Or three.
Yeah, this creek was running at 16,000 CFS. Yeah, we literally were.
It looks like it's less than 1,000 right now. Is that normal? It's pretty much normal, yeah.
The ones that are going to get us for water. No, not here. Gem Lake.
Oh, Gem Lake?
Yeah, like I don't know why, but I keep forgetting that I already told Sarah about the beaches in Gem Lake. You're all dead by night.
After the pit stop, we were taken to a pier that took us to the middle of the lake.
Hello. Oh, where's he gone? Hello. Hello.
You can leave that part out, right?
No, put that in.
Then you guys can see the lake. Well, the top coast.
So the snow load.
There's a couple of other brands of it as well.
That time.
Time to do a bit of nature spotting. Oh, there's one. Oh, and take a group photograph, of course. Our second location was not quite so overgrown and was near the river. Nevertheless, it was still hot and humid, but we carried on. It felt like good, honest work, even if it didn't look like it on our faces. Another water stop, and Timon had found something of interest. Where's Raiden when you need him?
Praying mantis.
Pin your ears back. Here comes the nature lesson.
This looks like the European one.
Oh wow, he's a big one.
No, this is tiny.
It
This
is.
is
Yeah,
this is going to
very
get
small.
about 4 times the size.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Hold your hand
used
still.
Didn't used to see those
Vegas
until,
size.
I got to feed the ones at the insectarium once in a while.
Yeah, it's missing a foot.
I've never had one.
Isn't one of their unique features
the way their head can move around?
Yeah.
Yeah, although the one on the front of the guide is an adult, and this one's just a juvenile. But yeah, they molt 7 times, and the 7th time they get their wings, but they can jump like that too. Where'd it go?
We left the praying mantis to hang around whilst we got back to work. This was our last area that we were going to be working on, and somewhat overgrown.
They have the real estate.
It was hard work slugging the buckets of water through the undergrowth, but it was totally worth it, knowing we had made a contribution to the nature reserve.
Your kids, blah, blah, blah. I hope you're happy. And then
With the last set of trees fully watered, it was time to water ourselves before heading back. This is something we want to keep as part of AvatarMeet, and keeping the message of Avatar alive. It was only the early afternoon when we had finished, and so Tim took a group over to Denver Zoo to take in the sights and sounds of representatives of the animal kingdom. There were monkeys, hippos, rhinos, and birds, some of which seem rather shy. Well, some of them anyway. Penguins are always good for entertainment, whilst other birds show their dinosaur ancestry. The elephants are magnificent creatures and seem so placid and gentle, but what they had really gone for is to look at the cats. Well, that was a kind of small cat. It was the big cats that they were really looking for. Here's some pictures taken by Tim. And that reminds me why you can't play cards in Africa. Because there's too many cheaters. Okay, I know when I'm done. Time for a group shot. And that was the end of Friday. Saturday arrived all too soon, and while some in the clan enjoyed the Navi crafts organised by Sarah, the rest of us found ourselves on the road, heading way up into the, well, you know, them pointy things with snow on them. Anyway, it wasn't long before we had found a vantage point to stop and pause and take in the view. Sometimes in this hectic life you just have to stop and look up and take in the world from a different perspective.
Of what? The view?
they're like
It's amazing.
Several hundred photos later and we were back on the road, heading to higher climbs. For some of us, it was a surprise to see that there was still snow lying around, bearing in mind it was actually July, the middle of summer. But then we were at over 13,000 feet. We made a short walk to a viewing area. It was amazing how breathless you soon became, but the view was totally worth it.
Here we see a wild Allen taking a panoramic photograph.
If it is a bob.
And that's bad for amphibians?
It's tougher for them
The
to
view from up
deal
here is
with.
quite amazing, apparently.
It's not like you know, it's not horrible. But,
Sometimes he will spend
it
hours
depends on
taking
what it
multiple
is. I
takes
mean, it may
until
not
he
be a
gets the
model.
perfect image.
Anyway, we should check that out.
He might have seen us.
He's been collared and tagged. Something just transited the sun here. That plane, the shadow of that jet, just came right across us. It's over here now. It just came right over us.
I didn't even notice.
You didn't see the flicker?
There was one final stop along the way before we headed back down the mountains, ears popping as we went. It was a surprise to see that there was a traffic jam on the mountains. Maybe they ought to do a park and ride down at the base camp and then have a bus service working its way up to the top. I don't know. Rail to Akitwan for organising the trip. Back at base camp, Karyu Pal gave us all a refresher on our Navi.
Now, I want to just go over dialogue 3 and then I'm going to have you guys practice, okay? Dialogue 3 is the one about where are you from, where are you going, which is useful. The first one is, again, something that you just learned. It's one of these phrases. There are certain set phrases that are really good to have in your head. So welcome is one of those, and it's Zolauniperte. And try to make that glottal stop really strong. And let me have a brrr. Yeah. Okay, welcome, brother. Then the answer is frfeye. Okay, what's the root of that verb? Anybody know? Frfe, exactly. And then what's been put into the second syllable here is the same infix as in game, as in Welingati game. Exactly. Practice the dialogues and try to change them around a little bit, okay? Rather than, put in your own places for where you're going. Say that you have various things. If you want to add your own vocabulary, that's great. Okay?
Want to go first? We can just do the dialogue one.
But the tongue itself is just the looser you can get your tongue, the better it works.
Yeah, it'll vibrate.
It's vibrating back here.
When I tried to do it on like tops,
Really?
ridges.
Okay.
No.
Okay, Kevin sing
Wefdia. Or OFDia.
And it's swole.
Yeah, swole is something.
Is it Ned or Ned?
I've got to find time to talk to Jim about it.
Intoxicating. It is drink, but it's an intoxicating
No,
drink. What is it?
I think they should-
Intoxicating drink is what?
Having refreshed our Navi, we had a bit of free time until our special guest arrived. Brooks Brown from Lightstorm Entertainment just happened to be staying in Estes Park at the same time as AvatarMeet, and so he dropped in for a chat. All manner of things related to Avatar were discussed, and we had the opportunity to present him with some goodies to take back to the office. All too soon he had to leave, but not before we had a couple of group photos together. Whilst L2 practiced a bit of origami with a sweet wrapper, we had just enough time for a fun pineapple prize draw, which was John's idea, with all the prizes having a pineapple theme, such as these pineapple socks, nicely modelled by Rai. Sooner or later, AvatarMeet has to come to an end, and what better way to do that than with a clan meal together? So we found ourselves at a local restaurant, and enjoyed the evening together as the sun set. Eventually it was time to pay the bill, and there was a surprise in store. Our clan meal had been paid for by Lightstorm. What an amazing way to end AvatarMeet 2015. Rayo nit an mat Lightstorm, Iwa nahu frakr.